My name's Ian Aber, and this is Straight People. We are recording here live at my husband's basement here in Atlanta, Georgia, doing this podcast for the straight people because you know what? They just don't have enough. So we have got a guest today, Patricia Forehand. How you doing today, Patricia?
I'm well, thank you.
Do you go by Patty or Patricia?
Patty.
Patty? Okay.
Yes.
So I just gave everybody your government name for whatever.
That is okay.
So welcome, Patty Forehand. Patty, you came to us today from Perry, Georgia. Right?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
So you drove up, what, is it 75, I believe?
Yes,
is that right?
it
Okay,
is.
Cool. And we know each other because you took the Laughing School comedy class, like, it's been a while, right?
It has been,
Like
I
3
think,
or
2
4
years,
years? 2 years?
or 3,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah, maybe 3. And then you've also been taking the Lace Larrabee Laugh Lab class. You might be the 3rd or 4th person that I've had on the podcast that's taken it, and you've been doing stand-up around town. And
Yes.
Yeah? How's that been going for you?
It's been going very well.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
And you're a retired elementary school teacher, is that correct?
Yes, taught elementary school for 31 years.
31 years in Perry.
Yes, mostly in Houston County and Bibb County.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. And what grade did you teach different grades, or what was your concentration?
I taught different grades. I taught almost all grades in elementary at one time or another, but mainly 1st and 3rd grade.
Okay, cool. 1st and 3rd grade.
Yes.
Which did you prefer, 1st or 3rd?
Well, as I got older, the 3rd graders, only because, they're less stressful.
Yeah.
They can do some things by themselves, but I love the 1st graders too. So.
Wow, that's so awesome.
Yes.
So this is a podcast called Straight People. So we're going to talk about straight, gay, all that kind of thing. How do you identify?
I'm straight.
You're straight?
Yes.
And how long have you been...
How long have I been straight?
How long have you been straight? Well, like, when did you grow up? What decade did you grow up in?
I grew up in the 70s.
In the 70s.
60s and 70s.
So you were straight in the 60s and 70s, came up as a little girl straight, teenager straight, all that. So you're just born straight, right? That's how I always try to describe it to the straight. You don't know you're straight. You're just regular. You're just born.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, and I didn't really know a lot about that there were different ways to be.
Yeah, exactly.
Does that make
and that's
sense?
sort of what I was about to ask is like, so at what age were you that you understood what a gay person was, or maybe a lesbian or trans person, whatever it was that wasn't regular, cisgender straight person? Do you know?
Well, I think it was high school because I had a friend in drama club and I would, and he was a male, and I would talk about, oh, that guy's cute or this guy's cute, whatever. And he would go, yes, he is, And then, I kind of picked up on it, and he was such a good friend, and he opened my eyes to the fact that there were other people out there. And, I was raised in a way, though, where you always... you're going to be married one day. You're looking for that husband. And
so you're put on that track very early.
Yes, you're put on that track very early, and it's all about family and mom and a dad and that kind of thing. So it was wonderful to have that eye-opening experience, and he was one of my best friends. So I think that's how I was kind of introduced to the whole thing.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
But my mom raised me and my father raised me in a way. They would always say, humanity is on the same tree. We're just all different branches. And so you just, accept everybody as they are. So, I didn't care about things like that. It didn't matter to me. I mean, just because you're born with a hose doesn't mean you have to put out a fire, kind of thing, You know what I'm saying? It's like...
I think I know what you're saying. I love that. That's such a great way to look at it.
It's just everybody should be able to choose what they want as far as their track of happiness.
Absolutely.
As long as they're not harming anybody, then, I think labels are so horrible. And... so anyway, I think that was my first awareness. That was probably my first awareness to sexuality anyway. Because, I didn't really understand all that part. When I dated, it would be kiss and it would be this and that. But, I was always a good girl. And I was raised, with 3 older sisters. And so I knew, you're not supposed to have sex until you're married kind of thing. So,
Okay, yeah.
anyway, I was old before. Until I met my husband, and then at
what age did you meet your husband?
I met my husband when I was 16.
16 in high school.
Yes.
Was he in your high school?
No, he was actually in college. Yeah.
How old was he? You were 16 and he was?
He was 18.
Oh, that's not that.
Yeah,
okay.
No, and he was going to ABAC.
I thought you were going to say he was like 24. I was like, okay. But he's a 6-year freshman.
Yeah, he's a 30-year-old man. No, actually, he was 18.
Okay.
But what we would do is, harmlessly ride around Sonic and jump into guys' cars because, we didn't think of it. We didn't have sex. We just dated and flirted and held hands and kissed and that kind of thing.
So you were in a social group where nobody was doing it. That's what you're saying. Because that's really what it is.
No, see, the bad thing.
Was there a bad girl, or whatever it is, how that was described back then?
Yes. The bad thing is, I think back then, if you were doing it, you were a slut.
Yeah,
oh, my gosh,
absolutely.
And I had some friends who were sluts, but, I just wasn't quite there ready to pull that trigger because, like I said, one of my sisters ended up getting pregnant very early.
Okay.
And she is the most amazing lady. But anyway, the way my father reacted to that by crying, honestly, I'd never seen him cry before. I thought, I'm not going to have sex. And she was always the one who said, Patty, just, be a good girl. Just wait till marriage or wait till you meet the man that you want to marry. Mm-hmm. And, but anyway, her life is amazing, and I love you, sister. Yeah. But
is she the one that you brought to the show?
Yes.
Okay. Well.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
And see, the thing is, I always wanted to be like her. So when she told me, Patty, because I would ask her, "What is sex like?" and and all this stuff, and she would tell me, just wait, and and I did, and I didn't wait till I was married. I just waited till I knew that, like my husband, when I was dating him, I knew, I just felt like after a couple of years that we were going to get married, and I loved him, and I wanted him to be my soulmate. And so we did have sex before marriage, which is not a big deal. But anyway, it was for me back then. I remember the first time we had sex. I went home. I walked in the house. I was like, "Does anybody know that I just had sex?"
Oh my gosh! And how old were you?
I was 17.
17.
Yeah, almost 18.
Yeah. So you waited a year.
I did. Yeah, I did. I waited a year.
That's good. That's amazing. So, and those girls you were in high school with weren't sluts. It was just the way that
exactly.
You know what I mean? Like the reality is that the boys are always the sluts, and if you're really looking at the way a lot of these. Interactions go down. It's like the girls are just, that even when I was in high school, 20 years later or whatever, it was the exact same concept that the girls were the ones who were loose and easy, and the boys were just being boys. And it's like, no, the boys can't keep it in their pants, and that makes them what? Sluts. Yeah. I don't know. It's just such a crazy double standard.
It's horrible that there are labels like that because all of these, my friends. I looked up to them in some way, otherwise they wouldn't have been my friends. Yeah. And it used to hurt me when like someone would talk about one of my friends and I'd stand up for them, or and I was always jealous, like I wish I could do that, but then I had that thing hanging over my head. I'm not going to yet because of this and that, and
I mean, you literally were trying not to make Daddy cry. I mean, that's like true. A country song,
Yeah, it really is. But you know what? That I was just determined. I thought, but. Yeah. It is what it is.
So you met your husband. How old were you when you got married?
24. We actually went to college together in Milledgeville after ABAC, and after I graduated, we both went to college in Milledgeville at Georgia College. So we stayed together that whole time.
Yeah.
And then
were you all living together?
No, we weren't.
So you never lived together until you got married?
We did not live together until we were married.
So for 8 years, wow! You dated for 8 years and lived separately. Wow.
We did.
Wow. Yeah. And you're teaching school. Did you I know how I was when I was a little kid, so it was very obvious I was gay. Did you remember having students over the years? You don't have to say anybody's name, obviously, but do you remember having kids that occurred as effeminate or occurred as like lesbians being more tomboys and in your school?
Yes, and I remember getting into a debate with somebody, about nature versus nurture, about that subject. And I just felt like I had this particular child that I taught in kindergarten. Yeah. And from the get-go, he just seemed to mesh better with girls as far as friends.
Like
and
socializing.
Yeah, socializing and everything. And, he seemed to look up to the boys and I don't know. I can't explain it, but you could kind of guess and tell. And then in middle school, I heard something about, oh yeah, he's so and so, he's gay, and it's like it wasn't a big deal or anything because that child was amazing and wonderful, and who cares? But again, I mean, you can tell kind of, and then I know, like when I taught the 4th and 5th grade. Especially later years, it's not hidden anymore. Yeah. The girls, some of them are dressing like boys or acting like boys or whatever, and vice versa. And I kind of liked that because it's so horrible to tell a child that you can't do this or you have to. I always thought people need to fit into their own mold. There's not one mold for a person.
Absolutely.
And so, the fact now, I am amazed every day meeting the people that I do in the comedy world. Yeah. And how damn independent and strong and brave these young girls are. Yeah. I mean, they say what they feel. Like, I was afraid to say what I felt. I wanted to please everybody. Mm-hmm. I wanted to go the way they said I should, and, to be able to stand up. It took 50 years for me to go, fudge, I'm going to do what I want to do, And so to see these women, these young women and these men, and they're doing this stuff and they are standing up for themselves and their beliefs. And, I say kudos to them because, it just, I just feel like I'm getting strength just from being around them.
Wow, that's amazing.
So anyway.
That's awesome.
Thanks.
So do you mind asking what age you started stand up? Because you started pretty late. Like you were like, after your career,
Yes. I was over 50. Okay. I retired at 55, and I think I did an open mic around 54. Okay. But it was really clean. Yeah. But,
Oh, where was that?
It was at Laughing Skull.
Okay. So you came and tried out
I did. Yeah. I was doing teacher professional development.
Okay.
And I had a few friends who were saying, Patty, you need to go try stand-up. And I thought, I can't do that. That's because when I was raised, things like, being an actress or doing stand-up or singing on the radio, that kind of thing is, those are not real dreams. You can't do them.
Absolutely.
You can't achieve that kind of thing. I mean, I'm this small-town girl. So anyway, I started thinking about the fact that I told my kids in school all the time that, you can do anything you want to do if you put your mind to it and you work hard at it. You can. It's not going to be given to you, but if you want to do something and you work hard at it and you don't give up, you can do what you want to do.
So you're taking your own advice.
Yeah. So I said, crap, I'm going to do it. So I got a bunch of friends, got about 2 rows worth of friends at Laughing Skull, and went up there. And I remember a couple of my friends brought their husbands, and they were like, well, what are you going to talk about? What are you going to talk about? I'm like, I don't know. I had planned some things, but, I wasn't really set. Yeah. And they would go, I'll tell you a joke to tell, and I'll do that. And it's like, no, y'all just leave me alone. Anyway, I got on that stage, and it felt like home. Okay. I got up there, and I was like, I love this. And the audience, they were laughing, and I was hooked. And so I knew that what I wanted to say was more than, the stuff I was saying. Okay. So after I retired, I said, I'm doing something. That's when I started taking the classes and doing all the open mics and everything that I possibly could. So.
Awesome. And so far, how long have you been doing it altogether?
3 years, I think.
3 years?
Yeah.
So what's your best experience so far been? Like your best show, just best audience?
Well, I mean, I've had so many, honest to goodness, I really have. But I think, your show the other night was cool because of the fact that you gave me kudos after it. because that was so
Online?
amazing.
Oh, yeah,
online.
absolutely.
That was the.
I hope you get some bookings out of that, because sometimes people
I
pick.
do too.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think I do. I mean, I'm going to that once a month in Chattanooga. So
nice.
that was, something new and exciting. But
You'll have a good time with that.
Yeah, I think so.
Have you ever met Hank Denson?
Yes,
Okay.
I think so.
Hank is the one. He has the Teachers Should Get Paid More Money video that went viral, and
yes, I think I met him at one of the shows that I did.
Yeah, you should talk to him, because he has he does so many things for teachers, and it's like you did professional development. You probably have a lot of material about being a teacher. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you should meet up with him, because he's one of those people that has such great advice for everybody. Hilarious comic, and his whole story is like he went one day and chaperoned for his wife, couldn't do it. Yeah. And he spent the day with the kids and was like, these teachers aren't paid enough money, and did a video that then got millions of views. Yeah. And so now they have him come to their conferences, and they'll come to his shows when he goes out of town. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, absolutely. And it's like that market, that's the thing, with what you're doing, it's like you don't even have to worry about the main industry of comedy. You could find your niche in comedy with your hour. Anywhere, you know what I'm saying? So what Lace is doing with the female comics and women comics, and then she takes them on the road. I don't know if you've seen that. So it's that's its own thing that's sort of starting to happen, where there's the mainstream comedy of the clubs and then the shows like I do. But my show is just I'm a queer person running a show. So I predominantly put on women and people of color and queer people, which is not what the club does. I book the club, but I book the club differently than I book my own show. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And that's where you are. You're in that space where it's if you decide, oh, hey, I want to be dirty, you could go and just be dirty, and people are going to come and respond to that because they want to hear somebody who, a former school teacher now being dirty. Sells itself. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Or you go in the other direction and you talk about your career as a teacher and make it funny. That has so much legs to it in terms of when we talk about how you reach an audience. Yeah, that's really cool. So 3 years in is a great place to be for sure, and especially if you feel like you have an hour at 3 years in. That's keep pressing at it for sure.
I will.
Yeah.
Well, I did get to go to San Antonio and do they had a keynote speaker. I was a keynote speaker for one of their STEM conferences, and it was all, comedy about teachers and things like that. But it hasn't gotten off the floor yet, so I wanted more of that too. But I like the dirty side too.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the reason that I do, I think it's because all those years I felt kind of like I suppressed myself. Nobody suppressed me.
Absolutely.
But I just felt like. I didn't curse. I didn't do this. I didn't do that. I was just very,
Well, you didn't just suppress yourself. Your women are told to behave a certain way, and you bought in. And
I think that's it.
You know what I mean? You're I always say with when we talk about the shows, women naturally make really good hosts. Because women have to be nice when they don't want to be in life already.
That is true.
You know what I'm saying? That's what a host is. A host is you're hosting the party. You're the one having the most fun. You're the one who's in charge just to make sure everything is running the way it needs to. That sounds like every woman I know, with their families. Do you know what I mean? They got to be nice. They can't. You know what I mean? It's you can't be too mean. And and that's hosting. And sometimes when I'm telling a straight guy how to host and he's not getting it, I'm like, oh, of course you're not getting it, because you're just raised to act however you want and say and do whatever, you know what I mean? You can be surly and shitty as a straight guy and nobody's going to say anything about it, and if you're that way as a woman, you're a bitch and you're hard to work with and you're this and that, and it's and I think that hostessing thing, so it's when you say that, you didn't just you were following the model that was put in front of you.
Yes.
You were playing the game the way you thought it was supposed to be played.
Yes, you're right.
You were excelling
I didn't know there were other rules. I didn't know there were other damn rules. So the natural reaction to that is to reject it and want to be dirty. And it's but what will happen is at some point you'll either go full dirt or you'll go, let me figure out some shows that they'll take it and some shows they won't. You know what I mean? That's true.
But you were filthy at Urban Tree and it worked just fine. So it's I feel they're not expecting that from you, and that's what it is. It's you're a misdirect as a comedian altogether. So you get up and You even did. I'm from Perry, Georgia. I was a former school teacher. And filthy joke. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you definitely, that's a misdirect.
Yeah.
You definitely were like, I'm this, let me telegraph this one person I am. And, you know?
Yeah. And it's really, it's gotten to the point where a lot of my friends, you know, that want to come to the shows and stuff, I always tell them, I give them that disclaimer, you know, it's not a clean show. Just to warn you. Because they do still expect me to be, you know, that person that I was, and I still am, but I see other things.
So do you think you're dirtier on stage than you are in just like your regular conversation with people?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, though I always, you know, I think, you know, I always told silly, dirty jokes to my friends and stuff.
Absolutely. So like my friends would come see me on stage, and it would just be like to them there's no show because that's how I am with them. So like but like I have a friend of mine, he's like, I don't want to see you on a show, I want to have lunch with you. Because if I have lunch with you, it's the same thing, but I get to eat. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like I just get you to myself. But if I go watch you on stage, you're the same person on stage to me. So it's like they've known me for 20 years, so they don't think it's funny like somebody who's in the audience regular. You know what I'm saying? It's like, So that's kind of always with friends. It's always like, sometimes I don't even want them to come because it makes it, you know, I have to worry about them being in the audience.
Yes.
Most of my friends, I worry that they're going to interrupt, honestly.
Well, I don't like my husband to be there. I don't. Yeah. I do a lot of material about him, and he does not mind, and he knows what it is. But I don't know. He distracts me. And I think when he's there, I put on that other persona for some reason. Not that I can't be myself with him, but in a crowd, I can't be myself
I understand
with
what
him.
you mean.
I don't know why.
Well, like when my husband's around, like he goes to festivals with me and stuff. He's a comedy fan in general. So he likes being at comedy shows, and he understands that I need to be left alone, you know?
Yeah.
But like if we were somewhere together and like let's say he didn't feel well, then I would be like, are you okay? Do you need this? Do you not? And then I wouldn't be paying it because you know what I'm saying? It's like then I'd be like over here, like what's going on? And that definitely I know, you know, that feeling of but also like I don't like to see him. So like I love him to be in the room, but I don't like to see him because I talk about him. Yeah. So I always ask that he sits somewhere where I can't or I don't know where he is. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
So that helps sometimes with the.
I'll have to remember that if it comes to.
Yeah. Just have him sit like so. If it's like the skull, make him sit in like the third row or back because you can't see his face, and then you're you know.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
Sometimes that's all it takes. I've done it where. I've told a joke about him, and there were so few people in the audience that they figured out who my husband was.
Well, my husband, I think it was my second or third show, he was on the front row with my son, and for some reason I don't get, even though it's dirty, my son just is so accepting, and he was like, and my daughter, they're like, do it, Mom, this is so cool to have a, you know, dirty talking mom kind of thing, you know, on stage. But, so that didn't bother me. My son didn't, but my husband was on the front row, and I told a joke that he had not heard before about him, and he just started laughing. And I'm gonna tell you, I forgot. It was like momentarily, I forgot what I was supposed to do next, and so that's one of the reasons. And then I put it all back on him because I'm like, everybody, that's my husband on the front row, and then you know, embarrassed him for a minute. And that allowed me to get my.
That's funny.
So I sacrificed him.
That's funny. I do that though. Pain will not come out for a long time, and he'll like there'll be jokes he's never heard, and that's all. Yeah, that's so funny. Yeah. I like to hear him laughing. That's one of my favorite.
Yes, I love to you know, because Neil loves comics and things like that, and when he enjoys something that I've done, it makes me happy. So.
It's awesome.
But you were asking about one of my favorite shows. I want to say that the one Lace took me to at Lazoom too.
Oh yeah,
yeah, I did go to
Melissa
that one.
Up in,
and oh my gosh, that was amazing.
Yeah, Melissa Hahn up and shout out to Model Face Comedy and Lazoom.
Yes, that was just so fun
awesome.
to be on the road. Even though you know I wasn't really on the road because I drove myself and drove back because I had to meet my family there. But just being with all those comics, those women comics. I mean, I feed off their energy.
Absolutely.
So, and then I did one in Washington,
too.
Yeah?
Where?
Hagerstown at the Flying Camel. I headlined.
Oh, nice.
Yes, because I was on a show called Primetime for Women.
Okay.
And so that was fun, too, because it was
Is that the one that you covered in the paper?
Yes.
Oh, wow, that's amazing.
So
what were you covered in, the Washington Post?
It was in the Washington Post, and it was for, you know, it was for people who did careers over 50 that were interesting. But, of course, you know, they have this woman that went back act to save lives and be a doctor, and this other one that's like a neurosurgeon or what. And then they have Patty, the comic, so it was hilarious. But yeah, I mean, she had me on the show, and that was a lot of fun because I felt like, it's like, here's the mic and da-da-da-da, and it was just cool.
That's awesome.
I love stuff like that.
And how long did you do?
It was just 5 minutes of comedy, but then an interview.
Oh, okay.
So that was fun.
Yeah.
I had such a blast with that.
That's awesome.
So I've had a lot of highlights.
Yeah.
I mean, I cannot believe.
Have you done a show down in Perry?
I actually did. I did a benefit show, and it was pretty clean material. I mean, the only dirty material I used in there was the part about waxing.
Yeah.
So, because that seems to be a favorite. But, it was wonderful. It went well.
Yeah.
Everybody was very accepting and wonderful. And it was an improv show then with my 5 minutes of, well, it was supposed to be 10, but I think it turned out to be 5, of comedy, and then like a couple of singers. But it was raising money for this woman who is going through cancer, and amazing lady. So it was very successful, full house. And, then I just recently, Amber Chandler headlined at Rigby's in Warner Robins, and I was on that show.
Okay.
So thanks to her, because, she's like a big advocate for me, Lace and Amber and you and, people like that. That's the only way I get the shows. So thank y'all.
Absolutely.
So, but I mean, I think it's word of mouth and people just being absolutely amazing and helping me to reach a dream that, honest to God, I did not know was even, something I could do.
So growing up, though, like before you started stand-up, would you watch stand-up comedy?
Oh, my gosh. Growing up, I wanted to be like a funny actress.
Okay.
I grew up on Saturday Night Live, and so Gilda Radner was like one of my, I loved Gilda Radner. I loved Saturday Night Live. And to me, that's what I wanted to do. I would go, I want to grow up and be on Saturday Night Live. And, that was it. Do skits and comedy. And, that was it.
Yeah.
I could do, can't do it now, but I could do that Rosanna Dana. Yes,
yeah.
I used to mimic her, and but I always did comedy, even in high school. I did, like, they'd have the Follies, and there would be some big play, and then you'd have all these skits around it, and I was always like, the funny person, like, the person who called out about biscuits for, commercial or whatever, that kind of thing with silly voices and stuff. That was always me. But but when I graduated from high school, my dad said, "Hey, if you go to college, I will get you a car. If you don't go to college, I'm not going to get you a car." So I was like, I'm going to college.
Yeah.
And I decided to do nursing because my sister had gone into nursing. But then I flunked out because I could not make a bed or wash my hands well enough. The lady was like, "Look, you are not mature enough. You can't wash your hands or make a bed. You need to pick some other avenue." So, of course, I slid into teaching.
That's crazy. What do you mean you can't wash your hands?
I don't know. I mean,
what does that even mean?
I don't know. I don't even know if they didn't teach us to wash our hands. They just did this thing like, you have to wash your hands and you have to make this bed. And my bed, hell, I never made a bed. My mom didn't make me make a bed, So I was not raised making a bed, so I didn't know how to make a bed, so it was horrible. And I didn't know how to wash.
Where is this? Is this at
It was
Milledgeville?
at Macon College.
Okay.
They had a nursing program.
Yeah.
So anyway, I didn't really flunk out. She did tell me.
They started with bed linens. Wow, that's insane.
Yeah, honest to God, I don't think she liked me because I wasn't
clearly. You got bounced out for the weirdest reasons I've ever heard.
Well, I was really
I've never known a nurse. Do nurses make beds? Is that a thing that nurses do?
I do not even know.
That's so funny.
She saved me from bedpans and stuff, so I'm happy about that. Thank you wherever you are. I don't even know your name. So, but she saved me from a life of bedpans. And I did love teaching children.
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
But I feel like this is what I need to be doing now.
Yeah.
So.
That's crazy. So you taught 30 years.
Yes.
Starting what year and ending what year?
What was it, 84, and then add 31 to that.
So like in the 2005, 2006?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's
right.
So what would you say the biggest difference in the kids that you were teaching in 1984 and the kids that you were teaching in 2005, 30 years later?
Well, I really think it's their attention span.
Yeah.
Because things are so fast. Yes.
Yeah.
Things are so fast moving and everything. And, you have to really be an entertainer to teach now because you have to hold their attention for that brief amount of time.
My mom's a Spanish teacher and like basically a stand-up comedian.
Yeah, you have to do all because you're just competing against all that technology and stuff. So I would say that, and plus the fact that they label all these kids, you're ADHD, you're this, you're that, and giving them medicine like candy. I hate that because I'm not anti-medicine teachers. I know you're going to get all on me, but I do think we give that's not the end all. It's not like, hey, my child's wiggling in school, so take a pill.
That's only part of treatment is medicine. Yeah,
we're going to find out. I think
there's behaviors that should be learned, and maybe environments made better to better to study, maybe to look at the amount of sugar they're eating. Because that's what I was. I was diagnosed as ADHD, but I probably was just eating so much sugar every day.
Yes.
I don't even know if I really am.
And we need to make sure that we're making it fun and exciting. Because kids are in there 8 hours a day. Do you want to go anywhere 8 hours a day where it's not fun and exciting? No. So we have to do stuff to make it.
Wow.
Worthwhile of their time.
So we're almost at the end here. We're kind of careening towards the end of the episode. We have about 30 minutes here. Tell people where they can find you online if you would like.
Okay. You know what? Everybody keeps telling me I need to make a professional online thing, but I haven't yet. It's just Patricia Forehand Facebook is all I have right now. But eventually, when I figure this stuff out.
Are you on Instagram or Twitter?
I am on Instagram too.
What's your
Patricia Forehand too there, I think.
Okay.
I didn't do anything fancy like.
So you can find her on I think you're on Instagram. I'm pretty sure you're on Instagram.
Yeah, I'm on Instagram.
Okay, cool. And I ask everybody one last question. So first of all, thank you for being here and doing it. This has been super fun. Straight people, you're one. You're straight. You've been straight for for a while. Y'all like to eat outside, like outside, like in your backyard.
Yes.
In clear view of your air-conditioned kitchen sometimes. Like, what's a straight food? What are straight people eating?
Well,
when you think, like, if some straight people were coming over for dinner, which would just be people probably to you, but
I would probably get my husband. He's the cook.
Okay.
I suck at cooking.
Oh, well, okay.
But I would get him to make his chili because, oh my God, his chili is amazing.
Awesome.
We've been eating it like 3 times a week for like the past month. And we're still not sick of it because
that's great. I love that.
It's delicious and it's healthy. So I'd say chili and cornbread.
Yes. Okay, I can get behind that. All right, well, you're serving a good meal then, because most people are like a plain hot dog. No. All right, well, thank you so much for being on. Absolutely.
I've had a blast.
Awesome. This has been Straight People. Subscribe to us or like mention us to your friends, or like if you didn't like it, maybe mention it to your enemies because they might seem cooler than you or whatever. But thank you very much, and take care and listen to another episode. Thanks.